Welcome back everybody, thanks for joining us. At the end of the last video we managed to complete this lighting and paving area. In today's video I'm going to start working on the main gates. I've already drawn up this kind of design. I'm not sure about the hinges. The back is going to be pretty much the same as the individual gate that I made earlier. The reason I say about the hinges is if I put the hinges on the front, there's already quite a lot of hardware, door knockers, etc. to go there, so it could be a bit overwhelming. So I actually bought the hardware in the UK over the Christmas period. These are the door latch, these are cast iron, and also some kind of decorative cast iron door knockers, I guess you could call them, or gate knockers, which will go onto the front surface of the gates. So these gates are going to go across this main entranceway here. Of course is dash posing. These have already been painted of course, and more on that later. So previously I'd been using dowels to hold the frame together, but actually what I've been using is these dowel pins. So you drill a hole in one side, use the pins to mark it, but unfortunately if you're not extremely accurate like myself, they sometimes don't line up properly. Then decided to buy one of these self-centering kind of dowel jigs, I guess it's called, which are fine on longer sides, but unfortunately they're not very good for the ends of boards, which are quite narrow. Basically the self-centering rollers just roll off the end of the board. I'll show you what I mean. As you can see, this is the end of a board, and if I try to hold this towards the end of the board, it just drops off. So on to doweling method number 3. I should really have bought one of these before. You can see here the end of the board again. Once this jig is set up, it's really quick and easy just to repeat multiple times without doing any kind of real adjustments. As long as the two edge faces are marked correctly, it just makes work so much quicker and easier. I highly recommend them. Once I had perfected the use of the doweling jig, I was able to start construction. It makes work pretty quick, just being able to dowel immediately and then start putting the pieces together. So as you can probably see, these gates are going to be quite a bit bigger than the previous ones. We still have the diagonal brace across the centre for structural support. As you may or may not have noticed, this was actually filmed probably about 6 weeks ago, maybe 8 weeks ago, just because you can see the jacket and the hat I'm wearing. This was actually pretty cold. It's completely different now. It's start of the rainy season, so the heat is a lot higher. We're up to about 32 degrees. That's Celsius, by the way. see the doweling jig in action. It's pretty quick. Just put it on, line it up, mark the faces that you want to align with each other, and drill the holes. It's a lot easier than messing about with the earlier stuff. In case you're wondering what exactly is happening with the house itself, of course everything you've been watching is basically outside. We're currently negotiating and trying to decide on roof for the house. The whole roof will have to come off basically and be replaced. So we're making decisions now about the colour and the kind of roof. I don't really want to go back with regular tiles. There's a couple of options available. One called galvanium, which is like a kind of metal roof, but it doesn't really look like metal. Or there's shingle panels, which have a lot more variation, texture and colours. But more on that in the next few months basically. Moving on to the second layer now. As before, I've basically laid the next ones on top. They've been cut. They're just going to be drilled and countersunk, and stainless steel screws are going to go in as well as glue to hold these two layers together. It seemed to work pretty well with the previous gate that I built, so I don't see why I should really need to change it. I was just thinking that when I first started this channel, I wasn't really sure whether it would be for everybody. I mean, to watch somebody digging and cutting and drilling and concreting, is that really what people are interested in? I guess there are some people out there. I also wanted really a visual record of the work that I've been doing and over the last kind of year and a half, for myself as much as for anybody else. But of course, if you are interested and you like what you see, then go ahead and do all that usual subscribe and click the like button like everybody puts on their videos. I do appreciate it, and I do try to reply to everybody who comments. Yeah, thanks a lot. Once the second layer was all attached and had of course dried, then went back with a flush trim router bit just to take the ends off of these. I did actually cut them a little bit too long. It's pretty simple and easy to do, and then just with a very small block plane, just chamfered the edges very slightly. And that's the first one finished, and by the magic of YouTube, that's the second one finished too. It's time to move on to the actual facing boards for these gates. Unlike the previous gate that I built where they were just butted up against each other, these ones, to give it a little bit of extra strength, I've just decided to rebate the edge of these. Unfortunately there's about 30 of them to do, so it's a bit time consuming. Come back to that in a future video. In the meantime, we're moving on to some painting outside. My son here is all ready to start painting. And here at the front of the property, I'm going to start on this small wall at the front here. Something to notice about this this concrete itself, the blocks of concrete, they're not flat at all. In fact, they're like pitted and scratched and filled with holes that even with a roller is extremely difficult to cover. I think it's going to take more than one coat, but yeah, it's just a case of getting on with it while the weather's pretty clear. There's another wall on the other side that's going to take a lot longer, and I'm going to be using a different method for that, which I'll show you perhaps again in the next video or later on. The surface paint itself goes on quite quickly, but then I have to kind of go back and fill all the little holes afterwards. While I was working on the end of the wall, Aidan, my son, was working on the posts here. He had the big roller, so we were able to get this done pretty quickly. If you look carefully at the state of the wall, some of it's pretty discoloured. This was actually after it had been pressure washed and left to dry. So let's just hope that the paint will actually cover it. It's an acrylic based paint specifically for walls. It's supposed to have an anti-mould agent added to it, so let's wait and see. And in the meantime, Dash is doing his usual thing, trying to look cute. Roller work had been done. It was then time, as I said earlier, to go back and fill all the holes. I found the best way was to use a squeegee bottle filled with paint and a small brush. And finally done. And just to finish off these posts, I just needed to clean up the edges a little bit, and then it was time to actually mask these off. They're going to be painted with a water resistant paint, a grey colour. I removed the lamps from the top of the post here, and just using a small brush so that I can get all the way to the top with the paint, and then for the bigger areas, of course, just switching over and using a regular roller. Final shot of the new gate with the painted posts and the painted wall. I didn't bother filming for these two posts, but I did actually use an airless paint sprayer instead. Up in the next video, I'll be showing you some of the work I've been doing on the CNC machine and a little bit further work on the garage itself. Anyway, thanks for everything, and I hope to see you again soon. If you're interested, please watch the further videos and subscribe. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.